we're continuing today in linear functions. This is day 4. You can tell we're going to be graphing a lot today because you have a page with a whole lot of graphs on it. So just kind of get that ready in just a minute. Before we start that though, I need to give you a few definitions and kind of get you started in the right direction on what we're doing today. So we'll just title this more with linear functions. More with linear functions. Okay, so I've shown you slope. We've done lots of things with slope. We've figured out slope from the graph. We've figured out slope from the table. We figured out slope using the slope formula. And then the last time, on top of doing the slope formula, we took a point and a slope and we graphed those. And then we took a point and a slope and we wrote the equation for the graph, or the function, or the rule. If you hear any of those three words, that's all the same thing. Equation, function, function rule, rule, any of that. It all means to write the equation. And remember, m is the variable that stands for slope. And today we're going to learn another special variable. But first we're just going to talk a little bit about another part of the graph of a line or the equation of a line is the intercepts. So intercepts is a word we need to define. Intercepts are coordinates for the points where a graph crosses an axis. Okay, so an intercept is a point where a graph crosses an axis. And you have two axes. You have the x-axis and you have the y-axis. And the plural of that is axes, so you have two axes. Okay, so for example, you have two options on a line because since a line is just a straight, one thing, one line, doesn't have any bends or curves or corners or anything like that. There's two options. You get your x-intercept. In linear functions, this is where the line crosses the x-axis. So the x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis. So it's going to be a point where the y equals 0. So it's going to be a number, comma, 0. Right here's a number. So you can put hashtag 0. That's actually standing for number, but whatever. So it's going to be a number, comma, 0 wherever it crosses the x-axis. Okay, your other option is y-intercept. So what do you think that is? Correct. Y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. So this is also a point, but this one, the x is 0 and the y is a number. Okay? This is also a point. And the y-intercept is kind of extra special because we use it a lot more than we use the x-intercept for some reason. So when we graph lines, when we write their equations, I'm going to teach you a new form to write the equation today, and it's going to be using the y-intercept. So in parentheses over here, I want you to put this lowercase b, because that's the variable that they use whenever they're talking about the y-intercept. Now, I don't know why they decided to use b just like m is slope, and it makes more sense to us that s would be slope. I'm not sure why they chose m, but they chose m for slope. They chose b for y-intercept, which is kind of strange, but that's what they did, and we're just going to go with it because it's been like that for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So we're going to stick with it that way. All right, so I want you to cut out the two graphs that are at the very bottom that actually have lines on them. And you can just leave them connected. You don't have to cut them apart. So put these two graphs out. Glue those down right here. So there's your two graphs. We're going to just write the intercepts for these two graphs that are on this graph paper already. So on number 1, you can write x-intercept, y-intercept. And remember, y has a special variable that we use, it's b. Okay, so the x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. So on number 1, it's crossing the x right there. Can y'all see that yellow spot that I put on there? Okay, so that's where it's crossing the x. So that is at 1, 2, 3, 4. At the -4, so that's the point -4, 0. Or sometimes we'll just put just plain -4. Because if you know it's the x-intercept, you know the y is 0. Because the only way it can cross the x is if the y is 0. That's the only way it can do that. So you can just put the x value of it. The y-intercept, the y goes up and down, so it crosses the y right there. That is 1, 2, 3. So that is 0, 0,3, or just 3. So there's the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Simple as that. We're just naming them. So on number 2, the x-intercept, let's use a different color. Let's try blue. X-intercept is right there, so that is over 1, 2, 3. The x-intercept is 3, or the point 3, 0. And then your y-intercept is right there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. So the y-intercept is 5, or 0, 5. Okay, while we're at it, let's go ahead and figure out the slope on these two. Anybody remember the variable that's used for slope? I just said it a second ago. Right, the slope variable is m, so slope is m. We're just going to count the stair step. Okay, so on this first one, the up and down number comes on top. So it's 1, 2, 3. It's 3 up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4 across. And is that a positive or a negative line? That's a positive line. So there's my slope. So over here, up and down is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And across is 3. But this one's negative, so put a negative out in front. -5 over 3. That's the slope for that one. Simple enough? That just kind of reviews you a little bit how to find slope, looking at a graph, all that kind of stuff. Okay, you can go ahead and cut out one row of these graphs. We're going to keep them all together. So keep your graphs all together in a row. Let's go to the next page. Okay, so today's notes are going to take a little bit more as far as pages because we're doing a lot of graphs and they take up a lot of room. But actually what you're writing isn't really going to take that much more space. So on this page, we're going to graph a line with slope and y-intercept. Okay, so I told you that the y-intercept is the one that's kind of special. We use it a lot. The x-intercept we don't use as much. But that's okay. We're going to use the y-intercept and we're going to use the slope on these. And remember, slope is m, y-intercept is b. So for our first one, your y-intercept, or b, is 4, and your slope, or m, is 1/2. Okay, what does that mean? What is that telling you? What is that 4 telling you? The 4 is telling you where that line crosses the y-axis. So at the 4 on the y-axis, that's where this line crosses. And remember, the y-axis is this one in the middle that goes straight up and down. This is your y. Okay, this one that goes up and down right here. That's the y. This one's the x. Okay, so it crosses at the 4. Now remember, that's a point. So if you wanted to kind of go back to how we were doing it last time, this is a point where x is 0. So that's the same as the point 0, 4. Oh, an intercept is a point. It's the point where that line crosses the axis. You know, an intercept is like the root word of the word interception, like in football. And so for an interception, the ball is thrown, and the defender crosses the pathway of the ball before it gets to the person it was supposed to go to. Okay, so those people that know football a little bit, that kind of helps you understand what an intercept is. So the intercept is where they cross each other. The two lines cross each other. Their two paths cross each other. So the y-intercept is where the path of the y crosses the path of the line. Okay? So it's intercepting that line. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that point on the graph. So 0, 4, you go up 1, 2, 3, 4. There's your point. So there's your starting point. And remember what I talked about with slope the other day? That it always has two options. It's a positive 1/2, or it could be negative 1 over negative 2, because that's going to reduce to positive 1/2. Because a negative over a negative becomes a positive. And the top number is your up and down number. The bottom number is your sideways moving number. If you go up or to the right, it's positive. Down and to the left is negative. So on this one, if I go positive 1, that's up, positive 2, that's right. So we're going to start at our point and go up 1 over 2. Let me zoom in so y'all can kind of see what's happening here. There we go. And then up 1 over 2. It's just our little stair steps. 1 over 2. And you could do that all the way across the graph. That's this positive one right here. But if it's negative over negative, that means I'm going to go down 1 and to the left 2. Down 1 and to the left 2, and it should still be on the exact same line. You can go all the way across the graph on that one. And then you're going to use your ID or a straight edge or something. Connect your dots. There's your line. So that's been, I was given the y-intercept, and I was given the slope, and I graphed my line. Fairly simple. Let's try another one. Number 2. Y-intercept is -5. Slope is -2 over 5. Now remember, y-intercept is b, slope is m. That's going to be really important in just a minute. So which one of those can I put on the graph to start with? The the y-intercept, it's a point. That is the same point as 0, -5. That'd be 0, -5. So I can put that point there. Crosses the y at -5. So it crosses right there. And then my slope is a -2/5. So that's either -2 over 5 or +2 over -5. The top number's up and down movement, the bottom number's sideways movement. So go to your original point. This is your beginning point, your starting point. Your y-intercept is always going to be your starting point on these kinds of things. If they give you that y-intercept instead of a different point is what I mean. It would be the starting point. So I'm going to go down 2 and to the right 5. Like that. Or I could go up 2 and to the left 5. Like that. There's my graph. Okay, number 3. Number 3 is the y-intercept is -3. The slope, or the m, is +7. Okay, so remember y-intercept is a point. That's the point 0, -3. So it crosses the y at 1, 2, 3. Down, -3. And then my slope isn't a fraction, so we're going to have to make it a fraction. How can I make a plain whole number into a fraction? What would I do to it? I would put it over 1, right. So this is the same as 7 over 1. And since it's positive, you should also remember that's the same as -7 over -1. So those are my two options. I'm going to go start at my beginning point, which in this case is my y-intercept. And this one I'm going to go up 7 and to the right 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. That's a pretty steep line. And I can't go again because there's not 7 lines. So I'm going to have to go back and go down 7. 6, 7, and to the left 1. That's a pretty steep line right there. Okay, one more like this. So on the next one, B is 0, M is -4. Okay, what does B stand for? The y-intercept. Which means that point is 0, 0. That one's super easy. That one starts off at the origin, 0, 0. Okay, this one's not a fraction, but I can make it a fraction by putting a 1 at the bottom. And since it's negative, I know I can switch the negative sign and put it at the bottom if I want. And that's still the same thing. Both of those will reduce to -4. So I'm going to start back at my point, my beginning point, which in this case is my y-intercept. And for this one, you're going to go down 4 and to the right 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right 1. Okay, then I can go back to my beginning point and use this one. And I can go up 4 to the left 1. There's that one. So that's just real basic graphing using the slope and a y-intercept. That's all you're using. And the reason we're going to use that is because we are going to introduce a new form of writing the equation. So if you'll cut out where it says slope-intercept form, that little box, and put it down here at the bottom of this page. We've already done point slope form. That's what we did last time. But this is slope intercept form. So on point slope, obviously you needed a point and the slope. On slope intercept, you need slope and your y-intercept. Okay, so that's what we're going to be using. What I want to do though is I want to go back up. This is the really important thing. The m and the b become numbers. M is slope, b is y-intercept. So you can go back to all four of these graphs that we did, and we can write the equations. So let's go back and write these equations in this format. Y equals mx plus b. And this is going to be a really important format because there's some things you can even do on the calculator with this format of an equation. So this one's one that you've got to have it in your brain, in your memory. Don't lose it, because we will be using it on the calculator, not today, but I'll be showing you all kinds of cool stuff you can do with y equals mx plus b. So let's go back to number one. I know it's y equals a number times x plus a number. This is your m, this is your b. So what's my m number? 1/2, so that goes right here. What's my b number? 4, goes right here. So y equals 1/2 x plus 4 is my equation for that line. Done. All you're doing is just plugging the numbers in where they go. So it's nothing, don't make it any more stressful than it is. What about this one, number 2? Y equals mx plus b. So what's m? -2/5. So mx plus a -5. So if I write plus a -5, I'm going to have to clean that up and change it to what? Yeah, it's going to have to change to -5. So -2/5 x, because that's the m. Instead of writing plus a -5, I'm just going to do -5. Kind of like on point slope, where if you had negative points, you knew you had to switch it to plus, like y plus. So this one's kind of the same thing. See if you can do number 3. Give you about a minute. Okay, check up here and see if yours matches mine. Number 3, y equals 7x minus 3. M, x, plus the b, plus the -3. All right, last one, y equals mx, what's m? -4. X, plus b, what's b on this one? 0. Do I really need to put plus 0 on there? No. I mean, I could, but it'd be kind of pointless, so I'm not going to put it on there. So we're going to leave plus 0 off. So that's using slope-intercept form. Okay, so what I need you to do next is cut another row of your graphs off. And now we're going to use slope-intercept form to graph. So instead of actually giving you the m and b, I'm going to give it to you with an equation, and you're going to have to tell me what the m and the b are. So let me zoom out so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm just going to glue all 4 graphs down the side of the page. if you want to take the other 4 graphs and go ahead and glue them on the next page, you can do that. But if you do that, scoot them down a little bit so we have a little bit of room to write at the top. There we go. Okay, so at the top of this page, write graph with y equals mx plus b form. So slope-intercept form. This is the form we're using. What is m? Slope. What is b? Y-intercept. So slope and y-intercept. Those are the 2 important things in this form. What's the other form we used? Anybody remember? It had slope in it, yeah? So what was the other thing that it had? Point slope form. So the other one you had to have a point and a slope. Technically, you're using a point and a slope here also, but this is a special format for it. So because y-intercept is a point, and you could write that other equation, and I'm going to show you in just a minute how it will end up turning around to this. Okay, so number 1. If you have the equation y equals 2x plus 1. So there's your equation. We're going to zoom back in now. From that equation, you should be able to tell me 2 things. The m and the b. M is slope. B is y-intercept. So looking at that equation, remember this is what it looks like, mx plus b. What is my slope number? My slope number is 2. What is my y-intercept number? It is 1. Okay, so this is the point 0, 1, and this is the same as 2 over 1 or negative 2 over negative 1. Okay? So now I can graph. It crosses at the 1 on the y, not the x, on the y, because it's the y-intercept. And from there I'm going to go up 2 over 1 to the right. Up 2 over 1 to the right. Or I could go down 2 over 1 to the left and stay on the same line. Okay, then you're going to connect all your dots. Easy enough? So you're just using the equation to find the 2 things that you've been graphing with already. All right, let's try another. So y equals 5 over 3x minus 4. Y equals mx plus b. Which one of these 2 things is m? The slope. Which makes the y-intercept b. So this is the 5/3. This is a, be careful, yeah, -4. Okay, because it's minus, it's -4. So it crosses the y at -4. You should be able to plot that point. And then your slope from there is either, I didn't write it over here, I'm sorry. What's my other option? 5 over 3 or -5 over -3. So we started our beginning point, which in this case is a y-intercept. We're going to go up 5 over 3. You're just doing your stair step. Then you're going up 5 over 3. Okay, if you wanted to use the other one, you would go down 5. 1, 2, number 3. Number 3 is y equals negative 6x plus 3. M stands for slope. So M is your slope. So what is my slope on here? Y equals mx plus b. M is negative 6. So if I was using a fraction, that's negative 6 over 1. Or what's the other option? Positive 6 over negative 1. Both of those will reduce to negative 6. Okay, what's my y-intercept? Y equals mx plus b, negative 6 plus 3. So this is 3, or the point 0, 3. So this one crosses at the 3. 1, 2, 3. And from there, I'm going to go down 6 to the right 1. And I can just continue, but only can do it twice because I'm running out of room. But I could go back to my original point, go up 6 to the left 1. And if you're not good at remembering the whole left or right or up or down or whatever, just look at it and think, okay, it's a negative slope. That means my line has to go this way. It has to lean that direction. So just count it and move your count the direction of the negative. Because if you were trying to make a negative slope and you went up and to the right, you should know that that's not going to work out. It's going to lean it this way. So just lean it the direction of a negative slope. Some of you are better at knowing it's negative or positive and not so great at understanding how to count. Which direction to count, I guess, is the right word. You guys can count. I'm not saying that. Okay, last one. Okay, y equals mx plus b. This one looks a little different. How come? Yeah, it doesn't have anything out here. It's just a negative 1/2 x. So I know negative 1/2 is my slope. So that's either negative 1 over 2 or positive 1 over negative 2. What's my y-intercept? There's not one. So what does that mean it has to be? What does b have to be? B is 0. So this one's going to start at the origin, right in the middle. And from there, it's a negative slope, so it needs to lean this direction. And you know you're going up and down 1 and over 2. So if I go up 1 over 2, I'd have to go this way to make it negative. Or if I was going down 1 over 2, I'd have to go this way to make it negative. When you connect those lines, make sure the line covers the whole distance all the way across the graph. Don't just draw a little bitty stubby line because you only did 3 little dots. Make sure you draw your line all the way across, because what if I ask you later what point goes with x at 10 or something? You need to have it drawn all the way across so that you know. Okay, last page. Everybody got this? All right, last page. You can glue those last 4 and kind of give a little space at the top. Those last 4 are down at the bottom. So on this last page, we're going to be converting from point slope form to slope-intercept form. We're going to be converting from point slope form to slope-intercept form. And you're going to have to use the same rules that you used when you were solving equations. Okay, the goal to do this, get the y by itself. That's the goal, is to get y all by itself, because we want y equals something x plus something. We need a number here and a number here. That's our goal. So on the first one, I'm going to give it to you to start with in point-slope form, and then we're going to work on converting it to slope-intercept form. So it starts out in point-slope, so it's y minus 4 equals negative 3 times x minus 1. So write that down. Y minus 4 equals negative 3 times x minus 1. If I'm looking at that as an equation, and you remember when we solved equations, what did I have to do at the very, very beginning? The first step I had to do, no matter what, if I saw something specific, I had to take care of it first. What is it? It's parentheses. If I see parentheses, I've got to deal with that first, no matter what the equation is. Parentheses tell me, oh, I have to take care of that first. Since there's a number out in front of these parentheses, that means we're going to distribute. That negative 3 gets passed out to everything inside the parentheses. And when you pass it out, you're multiplying. So it's negative 3 times x, that becomes a negative 3x. And a negative 3 times a negative 1 becomes a positive 3. So there I've passed it out, the parentheses disappear now. Equals y minus 4. So I have y minus 4 equals negative 3x plus 3. I want y all by itself. What is the only thing that's in my way? What's the only thing that's not where it's supposed to be? Because this almost looks like y equals mx plus b. That looks like mx plus b, except for this little thing right here. This negative 4, this minus 4 is not the right spot. I need that moved. Since it's subtracting, what's the best way to unwrap that? What's the best way to move it to the other side? Just like we did in equations. If it was subtracting, we did the opposite, which is add. Yeah. So all you have to do is just say, okay, add 4. And I'm going to put plus 4 over here underneath this plain 3, because there's no x with that 4. I can't put it with the x. X's don't go with just plain numbers. They have to all have x's. So negative 4 plus 4, those cancel. I get y on this side equals negative 3x, and 3 plus 4 is 7. Does that look like y equals mx plus b? Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. We switched point slope around to slope intercept now. Do I know what m is and b is now? Absolutely. M is the number in front of the x. B is the number out there by itself. And remember, if the number doesn't have a fraction, if it's not a fraction, we just put it over 1. So this crosses at the positive 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it's a negative slope, so it's going to lean this direction, like that. And it's up and down 3 over 1. So up 3 to the left 1. Or go back to your beginning point, go down 3 to the right 1. Every time you do that, you hit the same line. We've got 3 more and we're done. You'll have all your notes done for today. Okay, number 2. So in point slope form, oh, I'm sorry. You're still working on graphing. Okay. Okay, so number 2. Y'all let me know if I'm going too fast. I'll slow down. Y plus 2 equals negative 2/5 x minus 10. Okay, so that's in point slope form. I need it in slope intercept form. I want it converted to slope-intercept. Convert means to switch things around, manipulate things so that it'll work in a different format. I don't know if any of y'all know anything about computers, but a lot of times for videos you have to convert it from one format to another, or pictures will convert from one format to another, things like that. So the first thing I've got to do is take this 2/5 and distribute it here. Don't panic that it's a fraction, because your calculator is going to help you out on some of this. Am I doing anything to this side? No. So I'm just going to leave y plus 2 over here. Negative 2/5 times x is just negative 2/5 x. And then I need to do negative 2/5 times negative 10. So go to your calculator, use your parentheses, type in negative 2 divided by 5, close your parentheses, times negative 10. Just type it in. Hit enter, and you get 4, positive 4. So plus 4. And I'll give you a little hint, most of these are going to work out like that where you don't have a fraction at the end, because we don't want a fraction for where it crosses the y, because that's too hard to graph. Okay, so the only thing I have to do now is just subtract this 2 from both sides so that it's not over here with the y. And I'll get y equals negative 2/5 x plus 2. And just think for a minute, do y'all remember point slope form? Remember we used slope. Where was slope? When I did point slope form, which one of these numbers is the slope? Is it the 2, the negative 2/5, or the negative 10? It's the fraction. It's the negative 2/5. So in point slope form, this was m. In y equals mx plus b, this is m. They match. It's the same thing. And do you remember also whenever we did point slope and I told you there was different points to use and it didn't matter? That's because if you distribute this and convert the equation, the slope-intercept form will always be the same, no matter what points you used from that table. So that's why I told you it didn't matter, because eventually it goes back to the same exact equation. So on this one, m is negative 2 over 5, b is positive 2. So if we're going to graph that, it crosses at 2. And it's negative, so it's leaning this direction again, just like the one above it. So you could go up 2 and over 5, but you need to go this way. Right here. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you could go down 2 from your original point. Like that. You're just doing your stair steps. Hopefully this graphing thing's kind of getting to where it makes sense. Two more. Number 3, y plus 5 equals 5/3 x minus 3. Yes, that's a very good comment. Okay, so I don't know if y'all heard him or not. He asked me, when we do point slope, we put the m there. And since we're trying to find m as one of our things, can I not just go ahead and write what the m is? Yes, you absolutely could. Because you already know m is 5/3. What you don't know is what is b yet. But that's okay, we'll find b. And b stands for the y-intercept. We know slope, but we don't know y-intercept. Okay, so you can go ahead and write that over there if you want. All right, this gets distributed. So the y plus 5 stays there. And you get 5/3 x. And then if you go to your calculator and type in parentheses 5 divided by 3 times negative 3, you're going to get negative 5. Can y'all see that? There you go. So it's going to be minus 5. No, they're not going to cancel out. You're going to subtract 5 from both sides because you want to get y by itself. So you get y equals 5/3 x, so the mx negative 10, yep. So my b is negative 10. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so b is negative 10. It crosses way down at the negative 10, the bottom. Way down here. And then, so I'm going to have to do the up and over. I can't go down. There's not enough graph to go down. So I'm going to have to start there and go up 5 over 3. Up 5 over 3. And that's about all you can do is those 3, because you're going to run out of room. Okay, last but not least, y minus 0 equals 4 times x minus 0. This is going to be an easy one. Why is it going to be easy? Because zeros make everything easy. Okay, so we distribute first. So we're not messing with this side, so y minus 0 stays. 4 times x is 4x. What's 4 times 0? 0. I'm not going to write, I mean, I guess I could put minus 0. So what about these zeros? If I add 0 to both sides, is that going to change anything? No. I'm just going to get rid of the zeros. It's kind of silly to even write them. Y equals 4x. What's my slope? What's my y-intercept? Slope was 4 to start with, and it's still 4. Y equals mx plus b. And b is 0, yes. So this one starts at 0, 0. And you go up 4 over 1. This is positive. Or you could go down 4 to the left 1. Make sure it means positive. It's a positive slope. Okay, so that's using our point slope form, and now talking about slope-intercept form. In this class, we are going to use slope-intercept form most of all. Okay, there's one more format that I'm going to show you, but not in this unit. We're going to talk about it in the next unit. In Algebra 2, in geometry, you'll use point slope form the most. So it's kind of important that you know both of them and you can figure out how to get from one to the next. But we use slope-intercept form the most. Any questions?